Hi.
Okay, the sultry sounds of Alexis Guerrero's.
Yeah.
What's good, everybody?
Oh, you're listening to the Cooligans.
This is going to be probably the least sexiest episode you've listened to.
Wait, unless you're in,
unless you're into some short kings.
Yeah, financial kings.
Because we have an exciting episode in store for you.
Yeah.
We have...
We're going to answer a lot of the soccer business questions you've had.
You need somebody standing on business?
Bro, this dude is 10 toes.
Okay. Because we're going to be joined shortly by David Samson of Meadowlark Media. You've seen him on Le Batard Show. You've seen him alongside John Skipper on Le Batard and Friends Network, talking all the sports business.
Yeah, but he doesn't just talk about this way. He tells you like it is from a business point of view. He lets you into the conference room.
Yeah, exactly.
So some fans are like, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. And he's like,
yeah.
I hate to tell you what it really is like.
There's no way that the majority of our audience is not going to end this episode being like, I don't like that guy. I don't like that. He's telling me the truth.
Yeah. Hey, whoa. Let me keep it the way I believe it to be.
So a dope episode of the Cooligans in store.
It's the Cooligans, buddy.
As always, my name is Christian Polanco.
I'm Alexis Guerrero.
So a lot to look forward to in just a moment. But yes, the David Samson, just a couple quick things, just a reminder as always, make sure you subscribe to the Cooligans podcast for more great episodes that are coming up right now. Subscribe to on YouTube as well. So every Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get the show, tell your friends.
And you know what? If you're already subscribed and follow and do the whole thing, you're probably thinking, I don't need to hear this. I did all that already. You know what you could do? You could share one of our videos.
Exactly.
How about that?
A little retweet button, repost, post it to your story. Do what you got to do.
Go on YouTube, hit the share, and send it to your send it to your mother. Huh? Okay. She probably wants to see it.
And we did a little video, a little shout out to everybody that had us in their Spotify Wrapped.
Y'all the best.
Y'all are truly the best. So thank you again to everyone. So we'll get to David Samson in just a moment, but this is always a good time to remind you especially during the holidays.
Oh, what better time is there to chill a little bit?
Chill out, okay? You get chill. Have an ice cold Coors Light before and during this episode. You're gonna need it. Okay,
and then you know what? You're probably gonna be you're probably gonna want to chill even more from all this business talk afterwards. So a good time to have another Coors Light, because really this time of year, it's the holidays, family, God, buying gifts. There's so many things, and you're like, I got to do so much. I need to chill.
Exactly. So that's why an ice cold Coors Light is the move.
Yes.
The mountains on the bottles and cans, they turn blue when the beer is cold enough to drink. I mean, how much more help do you need?
It makes it easy for you.
Okay, that's what we're here for, to relay this important information. You look at sometimes some people, they see the blue mountains on the can or the bottle. They're like, I don't know what this means.
I have no idea what this means.
I have no idea what's going on. I have no control over my own life.
The only way I know is I'm holding one in my left hand that doesn't have a Blue Mountain, and it is room temperature. And yet the one over here in my right hand that has the Blue Mountain is freezing ice, cold, made to chill.
And that is the one. That's why you listen to this show, for us to advise you and counsel you, to let you know.
And may we remind you that green lights mean go and red lights mean stop.
Okay, because our audience may be confused with that as well. So Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged.
It's the perfect beer for the holidays.
Exactly. So make time to chill this holiday season and reach for the beer that's made to chill. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/Cooligans.
That's CoorsLight.com/Cooligans. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
All right. So David Samson, host of the podcast Nothing Personal. Go check that out on the Le Batard and Friends Network.
Right after this interview.
Right after this interview. So it's nice to have just a coworker come through. Okay, the former president of the Miami Marlins.
So up here is what you're saying.
Exactly. I'm sure our bank accounts are very much alike.
Oh, so similar.
You couldn't even tell them apart.
Hey, we never got fired by Jeter.
There you go. So here it is. Here's our conversation with David Samson.
Look at this.
Look at this. We have, is it, I don't know, Meadowlark royalty?
At this point, this is our new financial advisor. I've seen this man both, take somebody through a journey of how business is really done. And I've also seen this person get very upset at jokes. So how is this going to go today?
Okay, we are gonna find the exact lines for David. David Samson, thank you so much for joining.
David Samson is on our show. You're like the most.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. I was late. Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah, I was late. Yeah. Not
There's
my
one
fault.
thing I can't buy. So, hold up. Here's the one thing I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm so sorry that I'm late. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Yes, it's your fault.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I apologize on
Been
behalf
sitting
of
here for
CBS.
30 minutes watching handball.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's your fault. You could have been like,
I was
shut this off.
stranded. I was ready to start cleaning the suite next door.
I walk in and I'm like, what are you guys watching? And Christian's like, I'm just showing him videos of my brother playing handball. And I'm like, okay, now I'm really sorry.
Okay.
I'd like
I'm
to give you
late.
my imitation while the video of the handball is happening. I'm not looking at anything.
Yeah.
Like this. I'm really important.
You
I'm
just hear
trying to,
basketball
pretend.
sneakers screeching. You guys couldn't think of
Hey,
anything
but
else to
he's a
show
lefty.
this man?
My brother's
you know,
a lefty.
we were
I
t-
could give a shit.
We were talking.
Thank you.
We were talking about tennis, and I was like, you know what? Handball's
Yeah.
pretty cool. My brother
Here,
plays
quick,
handball.
home movies.
It's better than pictures of my kids.
Dude, I walk in, Christian's got a sock on his hand. He's under the desk. He's doing hand puppets.
I'm trying to entertain this man.
This is a
Thank
business
God you did not bring out pictures of your kid. You started with the, hey, we got an 8-month-old. I'm like,
I would have
great.
walked in and grabbed you and taken you to a bar to go drink whiskey if I would have walked in here and there was pictures of his kid.
I love
But listen, this is what is your exact, like, what's on your CV? Like, what's on your resume? What is your exact title?
Yeah, for the soccer
audience,
audience,
yeah.
our audience that may not know of your work.
Okay, my name is David Samson.
That part we know.
I'm 5'5".
Okay, didn't need to tell him that. You know, we could have went 5'9". We could have done the soccer thing.
Okay,
Well,
it's like a Tinder bio.
The way, by the way, swipe left. So, 134, soaking wet.
Damn, that's what I waited in 7th grade, bro.
No.
100%.
Seriously?
Yeah. This is a big kid.
I was once, anyway, okay.
Anyway, here's a picture of me playing volleyball.
I am a person who ran a Major League Baseball team for 18 years.
Right.
I'm a person who was on Wall Street. I'm a lawyer who never practiced. I passed the bar and then went into business.
Nice.
I was a newspaper delivery boy in Europe right after law school. The first guy to get the New York Times to Europe same day. So I've always had an interest in sports in Europe and an interest in sports in the States, and always try to think about the intersection and what would make the intersection more pronounced. And I had no plan on a sports career at all. I fell into it through nepotism, and I stayed in it by earning every day that I was there. And when I was fired by Jeter in 17, Derek Jeter is a baseball player.
I didn't think you meant Brian Jeter.
Or Michael Jeter, the actor, if you know him. And I immediately knew that after 18 years in a World Series championship and hosting an all-star game and building a stadium and trading players and signing players, that I wanted to do what I had done for so many years, and that's be in front of the camera. And so I immediately interviewed agents, hired an agent at UTA, and I started at CBS Sports HQ
Nice.
the first day that it started as an MLB analyst.
Okay.
And I'm still there. And then one day they approached me and said, how about a show for yourself? And I said, great, but here are the rules. I want total control.
Nice.
I don't want to get one call about anything I'm saying. I want to do sports and culture and entertainment and politics. And
So
the
you want
first
total
show,
control. I'm starting to see why Derek Jeter.
I wanted total control.
I see why Derek Jeter maybe.
And, oh no, I knew that he was going to fire me. It was great. I got fired, true story, by text message.
Nice.
By an alert, an ESPN.com alert. Longtime president David Samson will not return to Marlins was the text.
And so, so it wasn't a text message; it was a notification.
An alert, a notification. Thank you.
Worse.
It's way worse.
Now
Yes.
he's a married man, but previously when he had, ladies
I'm not
and
married.
rendezvous. No, Derek Jeter.
Oh, he's not married either.
No, everyone got that you were married. You said swipe left.
And you also said I need total control.
So I got a BDSM app for you that you crushed on. But Derek Jeter, I think used to send a text notification to the ladies when they woke up the next morning that your job here is done. You got one
with the gift bag.
Yeah,
That was my response. Do I get a gift bag?
That's a great
Really?
Right. I mean, no sex in the champagne room, but I want a
What are you
gift
willing
bag.
to do for that gift? For that best?
I was willing to not take a big shit in my office, which he took over. That was about all I was willing to do.
So amazing. So okay. So
Anyway, that's me.
You got to get an idea of who we're
that is
talking
a
to.
great.
You are the perfect third mic for this show.
It's a great elevator pitch, right?
You also kind of you got a good knowledge of the business side of the sport of soccer. And that's something you and I have dabbled in a little bit in conversation. But now we have someone who is like really understands what goes on behind closed doors.
Without a doubt. And that is why we've invited you here, David Samson, to really go through, we have a lot of debate here between us because Alexis is generally the guy, whenever there's any business related issue or capitalist related issue, I'm just like, you know what, Alexis, you're hurting the game. That's not the spirit of the
Christian
game.
is the dreamer, and I am a bit more of a realist. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish certain of these things.
Do you actually wish it weren't that way?
Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously. Like,
Why?
I like...
You like his version better than yours?
I like the romanticism of this idea of a sport that was factory work. No, I'm with you. I'm telling you, I play both sides, bro. I get the idea. I like the romantic idea of a sport that, is for the workers and for the people. But I don't think people understand that era is long gone.
Long.
And this is how I'm born and raised in Newark. I'm one of these people that's like, show me what the rules are, and then I'll figure out my way to finesse through it. How do I get this to my advantage? And that's where Christian is, and Christian is more of but it should be this beautiful way.
Well, I'm
like, get out of it.
An egalitarian mindset. There should be more fairness. It should be a little bit more just. And I think of that way kind of in society, but in sports, I lean towards that a little bit more than Alexis does.
So one of the most important things I learned over 18 years is that not only is sports a business, but it's also the most misunderstood business I've ever been a part of, because people view it as their entertainment. They view it as having an emotional connection to the team, to the players, and they think that it is their team. And it's not like when you go into Target and you look at the shelves and you walk up and down the aisle and you think, this is my store. I feel emotional. What do you mean you have no Frosted Flakes? And you, right? In sports, you trade a player and you've done it to the fan. It's like you've hurt the fan.
Personally.
Right.
Like, you traded Cliff Floyd, you rat bastard. Yeah. Okay. That's my job. So for me, it was a business always. For the customer, it's an emotional connection and attachment. And it's very important that whoever is working for the team is not emotional, because if you let emotions get in the way, you make very bad business decisions.
So this is okay. Sports is like a strip club.
Okay.
The guy walking in thinks this girl's in love with him.
Right.
You need that in order for the business to survive. But you also have to find a way to make sure that doesn't really happen, right?
Wait, which part? The
the girl
courtesan?
doesn't really fall in love with the guy like this.
That's Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
You do want that to happen.
Good movie, but does that really happen? My favorite part of that movie was the Lotus Esprit that he drove at the beginning. I'm a big fan of the car. Everything else?
So don't Google this, but my family, we're all former strippers. We all met in a strip club.
Really?
It's amazing. I have had relationships with so many people from strip clubs. You can do this too. It's totally real. You have to believe it's real.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, that's not. Damn it. I gotta work on that.
I'm starting to think you're 5'4".
If you put out a measuring stick, I love you, man. I'm 5'4 3/4, and I've never said that publicly.
He's just getting progressively shorter throughout the
You
show.
have to edit that out.
4'11" by the end of the year.
I've never admitted to that. Damn it. You broke through my armor.
I got through the
We're
chain
so
mail.
close now.
I'm Alexis P. Samson.
All right. So look, we can start in a lot of different places. So this is just so people, the audience knows what today's show is going to be like. I mean, we're really just going to toss you a lot of business-related questions about definitely a lot about soccer, contracts, TV rights, and just get a sort of a landscape from your perspective on how these things kind of happen.
That's what Nothing Personal is. And I know you listen to it every day, and all the segments I do about soccer, huge fan. Yeah, didn't know that I do it every day, didn't know what time. But that
What
said,
network is that on?
I can't remember. I'm always a free agent. So the business of soccer, before we start, I have a serious question.
Go for it.
I am American and a Jew.
Okay.
What do I call it? I want to sound cool. So sometimes I say football, but then people think I'm talking about the NFL. And if I say soccer, I feel like I'm not giving it proper credit.
Okay, so we might have different answers here. So my perspective is, I mean, we saw the late Grant Wall, $1 billion goal, and this question comes up a lot. He was always a soccer guy, and that's what it's called. That's what the English told us to call it. So he just calls it soccer. This is I don't really care. I'm not a person that is gonna get mad at anybody for what they want to call it. But this is the context for me is a little bit important. Like if I don't like saying soccer player. I feel weird saying that, but I like saying footballer. So I'll
But
call.
that's also a term that's not used by NFL players.
Right. So I feel
it's
more
easier.
So when I'm talking about a player who plays soccer, I say footballer. But if I'm speaking to someone from Europe, I'll probably say football. If I'm speaking to American, I'll say soccer. But that's
So when you're doing this show, what do you say?
Both.
But
I'll give you the answer that I now go with. Do you know why the English used soccer until about the late 70s? Do you know why they stopped?
No.
Because NASL were buying all their players, and they got so mad that the media stopped saying the word soccer because it was associated more with NASL. So they got a little bit butthurt, and they started using the word football again. Soccer is just association, and association rules football, which is their version.
I didn't realize it was so new.
So that's it. It's really, they have a show called Soccer AM, Soccer Saturday. So the fact that they needed to get their money up. They got mad that we were spending money to get their best players. So for you, I would say soccer because it shows them how they should have been spending their money.
I'm 100% going to go with soccer now.
Let's go.
Because
Me
that
too.
totally takes the stress away.
Now, if you get beat up in England, do not blame me.
I've never been punched with this mouth. I've never
What?
thrown a punch or been punched my entire life.
That does explain your personality, though.
No, I can talk my way out of anything.
You and I grew up very similar.
Who's gonna
very
punch?
similar personality.
Who's gonna punch a 4'6" man? That's horrible.
4'5" and 3/4, goddammit.
So this is probably where we'll start. We talk about Major League Soccer quite a bit on your show with John Skipper. One of the episodes I really enjoyed was when the MLS-Apple TV deal came out, and you guys spoke about it a lot. And John Skipper was a former president of ESPN, so you guys have just a great
Intimate knowledge, really, of how this all works.
Yeah, and I really love the conversations about from a team president to a guy who ran a network and what those negotiations were like.
A lot of fighting.
A lot of fighting, but there's one of the things that the MLS deal was 10 years, 250 million.
No, it's a billion.
Billion, whatever, a whole lot of money. But one of the things of like how to get to that number, how do you evaluate what a league is worth, and when you try to sell it to a network that is going to broadcast it, things get weird as far as like numbers. What do numbers mean? Year over year, percentage this. So when from the team president perspective, is it simply just like, I'm gonna just try to fleece these guys for as much as possible, or
Hold on.
That laugh means yes, by the way, folks.
I resemble that implication. It's you say that, but when you're selling something, you're always trying to get the most money.
Yeah,
that's
of
not
course.
fleecing. That's called selling.
Yeah.
So let's frame it that way.
okay.
Now, are you talking streaming versus traditional rights? Because the world has changed. The Apple deal with MLS is not a traditional rights deal.
No, that's
by
the
any
first
stretch.
That's the first global OTT deal ever.
And so the interesting thing is that Apple, they took the rights of all their teams. MLS said, you can't go out. Yankees, you can't go out. Dodgers, you can't go out. Marlins, you can't go out. And those are baseball teams.
Gotcha.
So
I'm Dominican,
Yeah,
he's
and I'm
Cuban.
Cuban.
We do
We
know
got
this.
baseball.
What
Yeah,
Carver's?
yeah.
Wow.
And we talk about soccer. Crazy, right?
That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you speak Spanish fluently?
no, yeah.
So we could do this in French?
Yeah, of course.
Très bien. Je suis prêt.
We can do it in French.
This is an intellectual free zone.
Welcome to the Cooligans. Our audiences their heads already hurt from you using big words.
Lowest common denominator.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where we are, right? Okay. So what Apple's doing is they are trying to figure out a way. They were looking at Major League Soccer, looking at Major League Baseball. They have a goal. Their goal in mind is content. Their goal in mind is to get people to pay for the content. Their goal in mind is to find people who are paying X and get them to pay X plus Y. There's another company doing that called Amazon, where you're a part of Amazon Prime because you like to get your packages fast, but then you want to watch a movie, so you give another $3.99. And then you want to buy something else on Amazon. So everyone is trying to find different ways to get more of your money with you getting convenience in return. That's the object of the game. How do I get more from my customer? How do I eliminate the middleman? Apple said, here's what we're going to do. Let's find some sports. Because we've got movies, we're doing original stuff. We're showing movies that used to be in theaters. We have music, all the things in Apple. We have phones. They built an entire company. Yeah. What didn't they have? Sports. And they, along with Amazon, along with Netflix, all of these streamers are trying to get into quote-unquote live sports because it's DVR proof, which is the old man's way of saying it is real content that people want right when it's happening because of betting, because of fantasy, because of being in the know. When you're talking about a game, you don't talk about it 3 days later. You talk about it as it's happening and when it's done. It creates engagement. When I'm watching a show with you, I'm older than you guys. In the previous life, Tuesdays, 8 p.m., appointment TV, it used to be called. And advertisers would pay because everyone at 8 p.m. was in front of their TV watching something and then talking about it and then talking about the commercials. There's no such thing as appointment TV anymore. People watch it whenever they want to, however they want to, and it's taken away that sort of engagement. Sports isn't like that. That's appointment. That starts at a certain time. That ends at a certain time. God bless football for doing that because baseball doesn't do that. Right. God bless soccer. I'm changing. Sorry.
Oh, good.
But it is, there's start times, there's stop times, there's guaranteed content hours and guaranteed people. How do you get people to sign up to watch soccer on Apple? Do you think it's a coincidence that the very year that they're starting and doing these deals, that someone like Messi comes to Major League Soccer?
Absolutely not a coincidence.
It is a business plan. The business plan is to find an anchor tenant. It didn't have to be Inter Miami. Messi and his family just wanted to be in Miami.
Yeah.
He could have gone to Columbus, and it would have been the same exact deal, because the Apple model.
Right, not for his wife. She would have been like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Right? I mean,
We're moving where?
That's the story with Beckham in L.A. That wasn't a coincidence when he went to L.A. Yeah. These are family decisions when players or wives. Anyway, side note, Albert Pujols, do you know who that is?
Of course.
He's very famous. You should.
Yes.
His wife didn't want to come to Miami. That's why the Marlins didn't sign him. He had agreed to play for the Marlins as a free agent. And right at the end, the wife said, L.A., not Miami.
Interesting.
And I woke up the next morning and he was an Angel.
He was, Anaheim or California.
Yes,
Yeah.
L.A. L.A. Angels. So the power, what do you think? Do I have to take a live call?
Why not? I mean,
Hey, Levitard, I'm actually live on Cooligans right now. I'm going to have to call you back, okay? Okay, thank you.
okay. Well, you know what? That counts as Dan calling into our show because he has not done that yet.
Cooligans featuring Dan Levitard with David Samson.
He was like, who? Who are the Cooligans?
David, we're not even going to put you on the YouTube thumbnail, dude.
It's gonna be,
Dan is going to
no,
be prominent.
we'll have you at the bottom, and then
By the way, with a big X on my face, it was going to be Samson, and then it was Levitard.
Dude,
So it wasn't a coincidence
Yes,
that
of
Messi
course.
comes, and now it's created a big business where people are willing to pay. This is the concept. How much will you pay to watch a player you want to watch play?
right. But if you're Apple, you're beholden to your shareholders, and in order to do that, you have to show growth. When Messi goes, there is not another Messi. And they have this
Everyone
deal for
says
10
that.
years.
You hope that's not the case, but there are outs in the deal. There are places where Apple and MLS and that deal could go away. And if I'm an owner in MLS, I want optionality because I want the idea and the concept of really maximizing my own revenue. And if I'm a big-time team in MLS or I can get a big-time player, I'd like to be able to keep that money and not share it. And that's the fighting that goes on between owners. Revenue sharing is the concept in baseball.
Well,
In
did you know that MLS is a single entity?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
okay.
but it is a single entity legally. but the value of teams are different.
Yes.
And the entry points are different for people buying.
much so.
That was the whole Beckham Inter Miami. He got an option at $25 million to own an MLS team.
It's crazy. They're $500,000 right
Which
now.
is crazy.
Half a
Well, when he
billion,
did it, it was about 200 or 250.
Yeah.
So he had immediate appreciation, which is why he took so many years, because he was going to get it done.
Yeah, and there was like a deadline, and that last year he was like, okay, I don't care, the Moss family.
We could be the Sheboygan Winbacks.
That's exactly
I
right.
don't care how you man's
We're
get the
getting
team.
in here. So fascinating. All right, there's a couple other things I want to go through.
Let's stay in soccer though. Let's talk about international soccer. This is a conversation that gets had all the time. We had Robbie Mustoe, who calls the games on NBC in the Premier League. We talked about this, and we said the issue with the Glazers in particular, who own Manchester United and obviously own teams in the U.S. The fans hate him, and them, I should say. They hate the families.
Who do the fans like?
Yeah, that's a great point, but definitely not the Glazers.
Okay.
They're not even on the list.
The fact that we hear their names so often means that they are disliked more than other owners in the league.
One of the big reasons they're hated is because of the lack of footballing decisions made. They put a banker in as that director of football. Obviously, that doesn't work out. He's a money guy. He's great with sponsors. Doesn't know how to make decisions for the players on the pitch. On the club. Yeah, the club level stuff. But the big issue also is that there's something in business, and you know what this is, where the amount of debt you're willing to carry raises the value of your business. If you are able to carry X amount of debt, that means that banks trust you, so that means the value of your business has grown. That seems the game they're playing. They maximize the amount of loans they could take, and they took all that as almost profit for themselves, or I should say they took that as income
for other
themselves.
business interests.
Sure, for other business interests. But now the fans are upset that the club is over leveraged.
Why are fans upset about that?
Because it doesn't.
Because they're not winning?
No, in a sport like soccer, it doesn't allow you, or football in the Premier League, it doesn't allow you to make big purchases. It doesn't allow you to buy expensive players. It doesn't allow you to be as fluid in the market. This is their belief.
Right. But
Okay.
it's all about winning, isn't it?
It's all about
If Man
winning.
U were winning, would people still hate the Glazers?
Not at all.
When they were winning, they hated them still.
So this is my problem. This is my issue. This is why I don't pay attention to fans and what they think about me or about owners, because by definition, we're not going to be liked. A president of a team it's not a popularity contest. So I sorry to interrupt you, but the Glazers,
not at all.
they're winning, they're not winning, they borrow money, they take money, they're rich, they're not rich. I always thought that fans at the end of the day wanted to care about the results on the pitch. And it turns out in the Premier League, it wasn't always the case. And I went to Liverpool and they were calling for Tom Hicks's head. They were doing parades to get rid of Tom Hicks. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember those. Yeah, no.
Do you remember the name TomIcks?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
used to own Liverpool.
Now
And
it's Fenway Sports Group.
correct.
Yeah.
Now it's John Henry.
Yeah.
And Tom Hicks owned the Texas Rangers and then bought Liverpool. And he was so unpopular in Liverpool. Why? Because their view was we could be doing better than we are. That's the fans' view always. We can be better than we are now. The Glazers are saying we're making money, we're building the value of the asset, and we win plenty. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Look, Manchester United just lost in Champions League, and
they got booted from Europe. They
yeah,
dropped last
so
in the
fans
group.
are absolutely livid because there's something kind of what you were saying before, the emotional tie to the team and to almost like their own self-esteem. Like if the team fails, I fail as a person as well for supporting them, you know? And even earlier on, you mentioned fans, you mentioned customers in soccer.
That's like a slur.
This is a slur. You can't call fans customers almost at all.
They're supporters.
They're supporters. And I know from the business side, of course, that word has to be used, but there's something that is so much more, I think, tribal in England.
Well, they feel
and
like their
in
dollar,
soccer.
their dollar isn't saying I'm going to go get entertainment. That's a customer. A supporter saying I'm giving money towards the club to keep the club alive, to keep the club winning, to keep the club going forward.
I laughed, and this is really going to be funny, in my mind at least, when Chelsea was for sale. All of these Americans were trying to buy it. Remember, Todd Boehly ended up with it.
Yeah.
But the Ricketts family was a bidder.
Yep.
And everyone was jumping all over themselves, these Americans who owned other teams, to fly over and meet with supporters. And they would take the microphone and say, I'm committed to following through and having meetings with all of you supporters. Meanwhile, in the background, their toes are crossed, their fingers are crossed, and they're going like that.
Yeah.
They could give a flying rat's ass. But they felt as though that's what they had to do in order to be the chosen buyer. Do you remember that's what it was?
Yeah, of course.
Is Todd Boehly, does he spend his days meeting with supporters?
No.
No, he does
It's
not.
a joke. No one was ever going to do that. So I appreciate that they want to be called supporters. That's adorable. They're customers. And the owners, and I'm sorry to tell you,
dude, you dropping
but this is how it is. I'm sorry. But I'm right.
Can you view it from the fans' perspective that you've over leveraged the club too heavily in debt? It makes it dangerous. It makes it, sort of tentative. Can you see that viewpoint?
Are you not in the market for players who you would normally be in the market for because the leverage is so high because of financial fair play? Are there players who have not gone to Man U? Forget the football decisions. I'm talking about business, where a player was not affordable because of the amount of leverage.
Maybe you can't blame the leverage, but you could say they weren't in the market for, say, a Jude Bellingham, who recently also said no to Liverpool and went to Real Madrid. You could say,
what was his reason for that? Would you guess?
Probably the regalness of Real Madrid. The
So
history of
not the
winning.
money, not the package.
He got a significant.
You got.
amount.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
possible that was a factor, but who could really
I guess
say?
I'm
He never really
cynical,
said-
but it's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
strange in the world of soccer. You're not just competing with other teams in the Premier League. You're competing with Saudi Arabia. You're competing with
world, yeah.
Serie A and all the other leagues. And I always found that to be strange because in Major League Baseball, I'm not competing with the independent leagues. I'm not competing with the Korean League, the Japanese league. I'm not competing with anybody except the other 29 teams. And in soccer, I always found it strange that you could be subject to someone, hey, I really don't want to be in the English Premier League. My family, I'd rather be in Spain. So that is something that is not a part of North American sports.
So I think that because of that factor, then that's why Manchester United or just any club has to think more about not just the business decision. They have to think of like their public relations. They have to look at like the brand and how they present themselves so that they can globally, so that players can feel like it's a more attractive destination. So this is why the romanticism around the sport, this is where it becomes an advantage because you almost have to like fool the player to make him think.
I think Manchester's a good place to live.
But do they get fooled? Right?
They do. Angel Di Maria, who's a very famous player, Argentinian, came through the Benfica system in Portugal. His wife was very upset at the living standards in Manchester and basically said, like, all the women are pasty and they drink too much beer. Everyone looks old. It rains every day. I hate it here. And he got, like, he was almost, like, outcast from the team because of this.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I had some of the most fun I've ever had in Manchester.
No, Manchester's a party.
So it's a party.
Yeah.
And it's,
They are pale.
She
wasn't going there.
So my answer to that is everyone is the same color when the lights are out.
Hey,
I
nothing but ankles and elbows.
I just when
I don't
you're
even know what I'm squeezing over
when
here.
you're at a bar in
You
Manchester
did meet your whole family in the strip club,
and the
didn't you?
lights are out.
That's one of those like
We're all the same height.
We're all the
laying
same
down.
height laying down.
horizontally.
Yeah, dude.
Probably
By the way, I use that every day. I always like dating taller women for that reason. Because I
Really?
said, let's test my hypothesis.
This kid's on, volleyball, OK Cupid. Or something.
Amazing. All right. Next up. Okay. In baseball,
We barely touched on Todd Boehly though. We mentioned.
Well,
it
yeah.
already.
Do you know Todd Boehly?
Yes.
How?
He's one of the owners of the Dodgers.
Okay. Okay.
And he wanted to be the #1 guy. He wasn't the #1 guy with the Dodgers. It's a guy named Mark Walter, who's in the news now because of the Ohtani deal.
Right.
And he's now the key man. If Mark Walter goes, then Shohei Ohtani can opt out of his contract. I couldn't even believe that provision. For your
is that
audience
real?
who hasn't heard about that, there's a clause in Shohei Ohtani, a baseball player.
The $700 million deal.
He signed $700 million over 10 years, but it's
Right.
payable over 20 years. They
Smart,
deferred
man.
a lot of money.
Right, so Bobby Bonilla
68
contract.
At
million.
no interest, though. And Shohei Ohtani put a clause in the contract that he can opt out and become a free agent again if they fire the president of baseball operations, a guy named Andrew Friedman.
in the next 10 years.
Yes.
My man's gonna have his job forever.
bro, I'd be like, yo, just do me a favor. Go take a shit on your desk. I want to get out of this team.
I did a show last week, a nothing personal show last week, and the word of the day, I do word of the day, was job security. And
It's 2 words.
the phrase, as a matter of fact, you're right. Coco, my producer, would not allow it as a word of the day because it was a phrase. Screw that. Job security for Andrew Friedman was amazing because as the president of baseball operations, it's unheard of that a player would want you that badly. But what Todd Boehly wanted so much was to be the #1 guy. And with the Dodgers, he wasn't. And he said, wait, with Chelsea, I can put a group together and I'm going to do it all. I'm going to be front facing.
Dude, he made a wish on the monkey paw, dude. This is everybody.
Seriously, why would anyone do this if you're just going to be so vehemently hated?
So
Is it okay? I don't think he's vehemently hated, but okay.
I can tell you
Not
as a
both?
Chelsea fan, he's vehemently.
Are you out
Now-
of your mind?
vehemently.
is it keyboard hate? Because
That's a good point.
Here's something I'd like to say.
Do you get booed at work?
So no.
Okay.
I get booed online when I did my job.
Right.
But when people saw me, they'd want a picture or an autograph. Once in a while, there'd be someone who would engage in a conversation and maybe have a bit of an issue. The quick story is I was walking in the ballpark and this guy was mean to me and booed me, and he had a little kid with him, his own child.
Right.
And I immediately stopped, went to talk to the father, and I said, I'm just curious. We've never met. I'm David Samson. He said, I know who you are, and I don't approve of what you're doing to my baseball team. And I said, hi, how old is your child? 7. I said, this is amazing. You're with your dad at a game? Yes. Who's playing? No idea. Who's winning the game? No idea. Who's David Samson? No idea. Why are you here and having fun? I'm with my daddy. The dad said, ooh, interesting. And that's always been my feeling, that you can hate an owner or a president, but don't not go to games because of that. You're making memories with your kids or with employees or with friends.
Right.
It shouldn't impact you. You hating Todd Boehly?
That's right.
If that
Guilt them
impacts
through
you,
their kids.
hell
What
yeah.
I need to do, dude. It's good business.
No,
dude.
listen, hey.
This is the kind
just
of
business.
emotional manipulation
Yeah,
we need in a good
yeah,
businessman.
dude.
Yeah.
Do not put that in the dating profile.
Emotional manipulation.
Yes.
I'd rather put the lack of ability to commit. I put that right there,
You're
right
like,
up front.
Come on, you're making memories with me, your daddy. Huh? Call me
Who's your daddy? 55 going on 20. Hello. It's a little blue pill.
Yeah, you're like that. Just
Living in
spit
a
my
dangerous
mouth
world.
while I read these spreadsheets.
Sorry,
So,
that's an Elvis Costello song.
Interesting enough, Todd Boehly also tried to buy the Washington Spirit, the NWSL team, and lost that bid. Was rejected. I don't know specifically why they didn't.
Rejected or he got outbid?
Oh, I don't actually.
Did he get outbid by that?
I'm not
I
sure.
can't remember. The
I
woman's
remember
name now.
people not being, or they didn't want to sell to him. I think it was something like I forgot the exact issue, but this is where I first started hearing his name, and it was like he couldn't buy the Washington Spirit, an NWSL team, and then now he's the owner of Chelsea, which was just such a
What a jump.
It's one of the most
Yeah.
iconic brands in the world.
Yeah.
of sports.
But
They've won every trophy that's available to them. No team has ever done that before. They've
Even
won,
Man U.
Yeah, Man U has never won Club World Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Club World Cup.
Yeah.
There's so many damn trophies in soccer.
a lot of trophies.
I have a very hard time. Like when Messi joined Inter Miami, I was trying to figure out how all that was working, and all of a sudden Messi was not playing a regular season game. They were playing for some trophy,
Leagues Cup.
and then a Leagues Cup, and then he's back playing a regular season game. Then he's hurt, and then they're
Open Cup, U.S.
do you
Open
keep-
Cup.
Oh, U.S. Open Cup. There's a lot of
keep
trophies.
The
Fans.
Can they keep
Those
track
people
of
you hate.
all of them? I don't
do.
hate
I know, I'm
fans.
only joking.
I
I know.
need fans.
Yeah.
I just don't use them to help me understand whether I'm good at my job.
So for Todd Boehly, though, what is the financial or the business reason you buy a club? What was the price he paid for Chelsea? Do you remember?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll look.
So it's ego. There's an ego premium for
But
all
hold on.
sports
But he
teams.
spent $1 billion.
5.4 billion.
5.4 billion. He spends $1 billion in the transfer market, or $1 billion has been spent, or near $1 billion. What is the point of doing that? Even if you win, are you really growing the value of your asset by that much? How are you getting that money back if you're not really allowed or really able to pull profit out of the business?
I mean, this is a pretty deep business conversation that I would only say if you're reading 5.4 billion, Todd Boehly did not write a $5.4 billion
Obviously,
check to the owner of Chelsea.
But he's on the
And-
hook for that.
So he's on the hook for what he borrowed. Any acquisition debt, as long as the value of your team is greater than the amount of acquisition debt, then you're always going to be okay. You may lose your equity, but at least you're not going bankrupt. At least you're not going to give up your other assets and things you own. So when you're buying something, always make sure it's worth more than what you're borrowing to buy it.
Right.
That's
Almost
the
for a
general
lot of people
rule of
listening,
thumb.
imagine you sell your car and you owe more than what you got for it. Now you're screwed because now you owe the 10. I'm just trying to
That's
make it
so
simple.
nice of you to explain that.
I got you.
I respect the audience. I know that you understood that without
Alexis-
that explanation.
I was saying it so that he could tell me if I'm wrong or not, so that I know I understood it. Just so you know.
Picture a house.
Alexis wishes he could pat every audience member on the head.
All right, so listen, guys. There's 4 fish. Okay, you buy 2 fish.
How many fish are left?
Yeah, the train's going 40 miles an hour.
Hey, we could earn more money. We could do test prep for your fans.
Ooh,
Like we could get them ready for work tests and for evaluations.
has nothing to do with what we
Business
do, but I like it.
opportunities with David Samson. This is we got it.
But hold on, but the answer to your question is just okay. So the acquisition.
So he borrowed money to buy the team, which is absolutely normal. That is what owners do. And what you're asking is there a chance that the team won't be worth more tomorrow than it was today?
More of what gives him what is the business decision that gives him an idea to spend $1 billion more?
So when he bought the team, he had projections where he included money in his mind of what the team was worth, what he was going to pay, what he was going to borrow, that included money he was going to spend on player acquisition. It's a different question whether he spent it on the right players, and I think it's clear the answer is no.
Right.
But I hate when fans, and I'm going to use the word hate, it's a strong word, when you complain your owner doesn't spend, and then your owner does spend, and you complain he doesn't spend correctly.
Right.
Sorry. You only get one complaint. Then the department closes.
Oh, you pulled it too early.
The
pulled
suggestion
early.
box is full.
That's exactly
There's only room for one thing in there, and you put something
It's
in there.
a pretty good thing to say that my owner doesn't spend and I'm upset about that. I can respect that, and I was the victim of that often because our payroll was so low. But then we spent a bunch of money and the team ended up still sucking, and then we had to trade everyone, and it made them hurt. It made me hurt, and this back in Florida in 2012. But I always would say to fans when I'd see them, well, which is it? Are you upset that we don't spend, or are you upset that we don't spend correctly? And if you're upset that we don't spend correctly, I'll wear that.
Yeah.
My job is to try to identify players who are going to win. Todd Boehly didn't sign these players expecting them to lose.
Right.
He didn't tank it like I'm going to sign and purposely make sure I spend $1 billion and not win games. He wants to win because it's big ego to win these cups and these trophies or the championships and the rings that you get in North American sports. That's why he did it. The fact that it didn't work, he still gets credit for it.
Is that really all it is? Just an ego play?
Oh, you have the ego premium for teams. There is no math that makes Chelsea worth an enterprise value of $5.4 billion. It does not exist. You can't do a multiple of revenue, a multiple of EBITDA, which is another way that assets are bought and sold. There is no rationale for what sports teams are worth in North America or in Europe.
What is it? Interest
Earnings before interest,
and-
depreciation, taxes, and amortization.
Yeah. Wow.
It's fancy accounting. It's a way that I can run a business and show you that we're losing money, or I can show you that we're making money. I can pretty much show you anything you want. Just tell me what you need, and I'll do it. No problem.
What websites are you going?
That's it, right? No, it's and it's not. None of it's illegal. This is how accounting is. You can fire somebody. This is the crazy thing in baseball. The way you amortize and depreciate contracts. I can release a player who I owe 5 years of money to, and I can take all the expense this year and then show profit next year and a bigger loss this year because I need it for tax breaks because I have income somewhere else.
Bro.
So there are players
I need
who
a
can
new
get,
accountant. I need
You have no idea how much I love this.
there are players who can get released
Right.
because of the tax benefit to the company, to the team, to the parent organization that's needed for other parts of the company.
It's absolutely fascinating, bro.
Let's get bank accounts in Panama. Dude.
No, that JP Morgan. Hell yeah. Sponsor.
Sam Bankman-Fried is my homie. Free my man. Free my man. Free him. Okay, real quick. So I just want to ask about Shohei Ohtani, and obviously we've spoken briefly on that deal and those 10 years. But I want to also talk about the MLS designated player rule. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There are the rule is, for anybody who just does not know, there are 3 players that basically don't affect the salary cap.
They're not adding a fourth. They've said it.
And that's the
stupid.
thing. Don Garber, right here, right? Don
Not
Garber.
stupid. The owners didn't want it.
Right. So
which is even dumb.
so Don Garber said at the State of the League address right before MLS Cup that they were not going to be adding a fourth DP. And with the introduction of Messi, Busquets, and Alba, everybody's like, all right, this is now we can go real get flashy, get big players. So this decision, and you kind of alluded to it there, the owners didn't want it. But what is, American soccer fans are so desperate to be able to compete with Premier League and La
I'm going to
Liga.
give you my pitch after your answer as to why we should have.
And it's so
Where's the money? Where's the money coming from? Ticket prices? Broadcast revenue?
from the owner egos that want these trophies,
Come
right?
on! It's a dick swinging contest.
There is nothing
Swing.
worse than owners who spend money they don't have and then win. The San Diego Padres spent money they didn't have and lost. That's the best kind of owner. Everybody in baseball was rooting for the Padres to lose last year because of how irresponsible they spent. They were rooting for the Mets to lose because of how irresponsible the owner of the Mets was. Owners who are supposed to be partners root against each other when someone is an actor doing things that they don't want to have to do. If you make a fourth designated player, do you think that you would like it if your owner did not have 4 designated players?
I would not
You
like
would
it.
demand 4.
Of course.
So therefore, I don't want to be put in the position where I have to sign another guy and pay him. Make it 3, and then I'll have 3. And if I have 2, then you can complain about me, but don't increase it to 4. That's why they didn't do it.
Okay. Now, here's why I think this is dumb. MLS is now a globally broadcast brand. It is not bound to any geographical blackouts or anything. We don't care about the ratings in here or there. It's getting the world to watch this product. We have one player that is recognized worldwide. One. Granted, it's the big nut. It's the big one, right? But how are you going to get some of these other non-Inter Miami matches to be viewed? If we start to expand out the type of player we can bring in, we can build a product that will grow in market share around the world, which makes Apple happy, which grows our value, which brings it's that rising tide that lifts all boats. If we stick to 3, there's a less likelihood that we're going to get to that point where we're bringing in players of the ilk that people from other countries that have a richer league in their own country to watch our product.
I love where your head's at, and I would like to consider one thing, which is what owners have done is they've taken expansion money. So they've expanded MLS, and every time an expansion team is named,
This is why they're called a Ponzi scheme.
Why is
a lot of fans say MLS is a Ponzi scheme because the only revenue we're making is when new teams buy in.
Okay, so when I have a payroll that's set, I have revenue that goes with that expense.
Right.
So
you're able to track your expenses in the future.
And
you
if
can say,
I-
my expenses will be blank.
which is critical because when you're getting people to pay expansion fees, they have to believe that they have the money to run the team once they get the team. And if you have 4 designated players, that's players outside of the salary cap. Salary cap is something that gives you some sort of guarantee of what your expenses, like a cap on expenses. But if there's an extra designated player, that is to get you above the salary cap. Do we agree?
Yes.
So there's a difference between the Sounders who could sell out and can charge $50 per ticket, and and name another team, Columbus, who doesn't sell out, or if they do,
They do.
Name a team that doesn't sell out
Colorado.
with smaller ticket prices.
Yeah.
So when those two are competing, it creates a big gulf. Think Yankees and think Miami Marlins.
Okay, but do you remember the era before Cincinnati Bengals got to the Super Bowl when they were perennial losers? They still turned a profit. It's even more exacerbated in MLS
Why?
because of revenue sharing.
They shared all the
Same
revenue.
thing in MLS. It's a single entity. We're all taking a certain percentage of the
price
pie.
points of entry for the owners, though.
But they all share that money. When someone paid for $500 million for a team, they all split that money.
But you're paying debt service on a team that you bought for $5 million, and the guy next to you is paying debt service that he bought for $500 million. That's why in baseball, people are buying these teams for billions now. They've got far different views of how the league should be run than the people who've owned their team since the 70s who bought the team for $10 million.
Which is Colorado Rapids are a great point because Stan Kroenke,
Who also owns Arsenal.
Rams and everything. The complaint is always that there's no interest in almost growing the roster, getting players because he's been in the league for a long time. The older owners are like, No, this is why I think Alexis and I sort of disagree. I think MLS is learning, and we've interviewed people that started MLS and have been involved in like the failure of NASL. That they don't want the same thing to happen to NASL where the league
how long
folds.
are we going to use that as an excuse?
No, I'm just saying. I just think that MLS is doing something is financially responsible, even though the fans may not love
They're
it.
too conservative. It's like putting on 8 condoms.
Right, and
You're not going to feel anything.
That's where
so
I
why
do
have
agree.
the sex?
I think they are too conservative. That's where I'll find agreement.
we zoom in on it. As I said that.
Are we done soon?
We are done. The last thing I just want to ask you, I obviously watch Levitard and listen to Levitard. You have your
No wonder you have no money, no savings. You're going 8 at a time.
That's the point I'm trying to make here. It's
your
stupid.
your sense of taste and smell has not returned since you had COVID.
No, not in food or in company.
All right, we will end right there.
What's the point of me?
David Samson, this has been an absolute honor. You are welcome here anytime, man.
Really?
Thank you.
There's a billion other questions we have, and anytime you want to roll through.
I would like to come back. I just would prefer to start on time. Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know
Let's do
why
that.
we didn't.
Well, okay, we'll start on time, but we'll put it in the calendar. Watch handball video.
okay, that's
we'll
always
do the
we
show.
do it with every guest, David. Don't. David Samson.
He's a lefty.
Obviously, do not disrespect Lefty Willie like that. Nothing personal with David Samson. Obviously, it's on the obviously you can look up the podcast, but on the Lebitard network and
Every
on
day
YouTube.
live, 8 a.m.
Also, you make a bunch of guest appearances, not only on Lebitard, but I also see you on CNN, a
Fox
bunch of
and CBS.
Yes.
I do a bunch
CBS,
of things.
yes.
Just
Overexposed, some people would say.
legend in
all.
the game. You are. It's interesting. We're all 3 of us have been slighted by Dan Lebitard in some way. I got called a gas bag on there, so we all
Well, I
have.
haven't been slighted.
You haven't been slighted,
No.
not yet, but
He just doesn't know who I am.
I was going to say that's
no-
the only reason you haven't been
Yeah,
slighted.
100%.
so we.
He actually thought there was a party and I was sending pictures and we were at a party together and who's that? Pointed to you and was like, wait, he doesn't work for us, right? I said, I think so.
Yeah,
That's why I was calling.
Yeah,
he
dude.
was watching the feed. There's a special Meadowlark feed.
He's like, get away from those two.
Like,
So go
He's
check.
like, get away from that Dominican baseball player, and I think his janitor.
Go check out Nothing Personal. Lebitard Show. Check out David Samson. David, thank you so much for joining us, man.
thank you. Take care.